Now, last September, a wave of explosions hit communication devices across Lebanon and parts of Syria in what became known as the Pagers attack. More than 35 people were killed and around 3,000 injured. Israel later admitted responsibility, saying Hezbollah fighters were the intended targets, but many civilians were caught up in the blasts too. From Beirut, the BBC's Karine Tobe has spoken to one of the few victims who, a year on, has chosen to break her silence about the suffering these attacks left behind. A warning, this report contains images that some viewers may find disturbing.
It's a hard new reality Nafe is trying to adapt to. Exactly a year ago, in a second, her eyes were blown out, her fingers severed, her life shattered. She was a lady with several diplomas and a promising future. Today, she's learning to accept her life will never be the same again. It was early afternoon. Thousands of communication devices, pagers, started exploding in people's hands. They were brought by the Shia group Hezbollah and distributed to fighters as well as members of the group's many civilian institutions. The hospital where Nafe used to work as a supervisor in the sanitization department is run by Hezbollah.
My job involved working with all the wards in the hospital. So when someone from a specific department needed me, they would page me and I would go to the closest landline and call them back.
They had given her the new pager 20 days earlier.
The last scene I recall is that on that day, I was in my office when the pager started beeping non-stop, I think. The screen was too dark, as when the phone is about to switch off. So I had to bring it closer to my eyes to be able to read the message.
The pager's attack wounded more than 2,000 people and killed at least 11, among them an 11-year-old boy. On his funeral, the day after, more devices started exploding. A lot of people had gathered here for the procession, among them children, friends of the boy who was killed in the pager's attack. Suddenly, we heard the sound of a small explosion. And as we rushed to leave this area, we found out walkie-talkies were exploding. The Israeli Prime Minister later said Israel was behind the attack.
From Human Rights Watch's perspective, this was an unlawfully indiscriminate attack. The method of the attack, in which thousands of devices were exploding at the same time, it would not have been possible to properly identify whether these booby-trapped devices were with the intended target at the time. And customary international humanitarian law prohibits the use of booby-trapped devices.
Nafe relies on occupational therapy to help her cope with her new reality. She hopes this will make her gain some independence in her daily life. But she has no hope of ever finding justice. The BBC reached out to the Israeli authorities for comment on accusations by rights groups that the pager's attack might amount to a war crime, but has not received any response. Karine Tobe, BBC News, Beirut.
Well, Karine has been telling me how this attack left its mark on Lebanon.
This has been an attack that haunted not only the victims, but also the whole country. Suddenly finding that every device might have turned into a weapon. People found out about what was happening a year ago just by hearing something is happening. People are just blowing up in the middle of random places, supermarkets, hospitals, in the middle of the streets. And later they found out that thousands of people were injured simultaneously in different parts of the country when their pagers started exploding in their hands or on their bodies. And that basically created a state of chaos, a state of panic, of terror. Hospitals were overwhelmed like never before, and people were absolutely in shock about what happened. And of course, for the victims, this was a terrible experience. Those who survived arrived with a lot of pain. The road for recovery has been long and painful. It isn't over for a lot of people who are still going from one surgery to another. And of course, this has become something that people remember in Lebanon as, as if it's something apocalyptic, one thing no one could have imagined.
Remind us, Karine, of the context this happened in and what the repercussions were.
Well, this attack happened while Lebanon was already witnessing a low-intensity war on the border between Lebanon and Israel. Hezbollah had opened that front on the 8th of October 2023 after Hamas's 7 October attack in support of Gaza. There have been, months of reciprocal kind of targeting across the border. But then when this attack happened, followed later by a wave of assassinations before and after, it marked a huge turn in this war. It was, an indication that the war was going to become much more violent and that, things are changing dramatically. And this is what actually happened. Lebanon entered into 2 months of a very violent war between Hezbollah and Israel, and it's still at the moment reeling from the repercussions of this war.
That's Karine Tobe in Beirut.